Welcome to this video on the third module, the data link layer of the OSI model. The syllabus of the module, the whole module, consists of the intricacies of the data link layer itself, as well as the medium access control sublayer. So the data link layer will be seen with respect to these points: the design issues, particularly the services provided by the data link layer, the framing, error control, and the flow control. Essential parts like error detection and correction, with the particular examples of Hamming code, cyclic redundancy check, that is CRC, checksum mechanism. These will be seen in detail. We'll also see the elementary data link protocols, along with stop and wait, sliding window. The examples of sliding window will be go back in and selective repeat. So these protocols will be seen in detail, as well as we'll see the HDLC. In the case of medium access control sublayer, which is also called as MAC in short, medium access control, which the sublayer of the data link layer, will see the channel allocation problem and solutions with respect to the multiple access protocol like Aloha, carrier sense, multiple access, CSMA/CD. So this is the whole syllabus of this module, and we'll start today with the introduction to what is DLL. Well, the data link layer's main functionality is to provide a reliable and efficient communication of the data, which is this service is given to the next layer, which is the network layer that you know. So the communication has to be reliable and efficient. What does reliable mean? So reliable means whatever data that the sender sends, the sender is sure that the data will be sent or will be received by the receiver as it was sent. And when the receiver receives that, receiver is also sure, that becomes sure that whatever that receiver has received is the data which was originally sent. So both are sure, and this is what is called as the communication reliability. So the next part is efficiency. The communication has to be efficient. So with minimum time and with minimum resources, the data will be sent. The next part is communication of full units. So basically, in the case of the previous module, that is a physical previous layer, we can say the physical layer, that is mainly concerned with the transfer of individual bits, ones and zeros, whereas this particular layer will deal with a larger unit, the chunk of bits, which are called as frames. We'll see in detail afterwards. So the communication will be in terms of frames, not individual bits. And there are algorithms for achieving each of this reliability, efficiency of the data communication. So there are framing techniques as well. We'll see in detail. Now, the data link layer's prominent functionality, which is beyond that, is to make the communication between two machines which are connected by a communication channel, to make that communication like a wire. Now, what do we mean by that? So the communication is conceptually made to be like a wire. That means that is done through a telephone line. The actual communication may be done using telephone line or the coaxial cable, or even the wireless channel that we have already seen. So the physical medium may be any of that, even the OFC, optical fiber cable as well. Whatever may be the medium, that may be actual communication line, or that may be a wireless channel. So despite those physical differences and their properties, the channel has to transfer the data reliably and efficiently. That is what is called as wire. If the data were assumed to be sent through a wire, they will be received without any problem and in the same sequence, that is reliability and efficiency. As they are sent, they will be received at the receiver. So that is what is called as the wire-like property. So this is what is called the essential property of a channel that makes it wire-like connection, is that the bits are delivered in exactly the same order in which they are sent. So if 5 bits were sent as 10101, they will be received in the same sequence as 10101. So this is what is meant by the wire-like communication channel, and for which reliability and efficiency will be important, and this is the duty of the data link layer. Now, had that been one ideal channel where there are no distortions, no errors are generated because the bits are not distorted from ones to zeros and zeros to one, etc. The channel was having unlimited bandwidth and there was no delay. So in this particular ideal channel, the data link layers functionality was not that required, because what is the data link layers functionality? To make the communication reliable. The reliability will be required when there are no errors, but here there are no distortions, no errors. Make it efficient. Here the unlimited bandwidth is there, so there will be no speed gaps, no delays introduced, and that's why the job of data link layer, which is basically providing these solutions, in that context, the data link layer will not be that much required, and that is said to be trivial. The job of data link layer is said to be trivial here. So if you see the practical situation, the bandwidth is limited. Most of the times the bandwidth is limited. It's not always unlimited. There are distortions and there may be delays. So these are the practical problems in the communication systems, and that's why the data link layer is more and more important. So the job actually becomes very difficult when the error rates are more, there are more delays. So we'll see in detail. So this diagram you might have already seen. Here there are host A and host B. Two hosts or the two machines communicating with each other are shown with their how the OSI layers are situated for those different hosts. So there are 7 layers of OSI on host A, as well as the same exact same OSI layers on host B as well. So if you concentrate on our point, that is the data link layer, which is the second layer from the bottom, we already seen the physical layer. Just to have a recap, the physical layer connects to physical layer on the host machine connects to the physical layer of the immediate router, and that connects to the physical layer of the next router, and so on until up to when the last machine, that is the destination machine B, is reached, and that connection will be done to the physical layer on the destination machine. So that is what is called as the subnet. So that is host, that means host A will be connected to host B through these routers. So apart from that, we are now discussing the data link layer, which is on top of physical layer. Now we have already seen that the main functionality of any layer is to provide services onto the next immediate layer on top of it. So physical layer will provide services to the data link layer, and data link layer will provide services to the network layer. On the contrary, network layer will be dependent on the services provided by the data link layer, and in turn the data link layer will be dependent on the services provided by the physical layer. So the prominent functionality of data link layer once again is to provide services to the network layer. Now what basically basic service is provided? Transfer the data which is received by the network layer on the host machine or the source machine to the network layer on the destination machine. And while in the transfer, it makes sure that the data are reliable, are transferred reliably and efficiently. And to make those communication reliable and efficient, these are some of the techniques which are used: the framing technique, error control, and flow control. Framing basically means that whatever the data, the segment of that, the data which is received from network layer. Now see, for every layer there is a specific name is given to the data unit which is transferred. So at the physical layer, the basic unit of data transfer is bit. At the data link layer, that basic unit which is transferred is called as the frame. This is what is called as the framing. And whereas in the case of network layer, the basic unit of transfer or the smallest unit of data transfer is packet. So network layer will hand one packet to data link layer. Now the data link layer will convert that packet into one or more frames. So this is what is called as framing. From the network layer's packet which is received at the data link layer, the data link layer will form one or more frames out of it. So this is the first functionality which is called as framing. We'll see in detail afterwards. Next, we have already seen that error control. Now while the frames which are generated out of the packets received, those frames will be transferred to the data link layer of the destination machine. So while in the transfer, the data link layer should see that there are no errors generated. I mean, if there are errors generated, the errors should be tackled. So the data, if it is 101 received from network layer, it is to be sent or it is to be delivered to the destination machine's network layer as 101. We already seen that. This is what is called as error control. If there are communication errors in the transit, they will be controlled in the sense that the data bits will be sent as they are received. And the next important duty is flow control. Now it may be that the host machine is on a high-speed network. It is a powerful machine which is pumping data into network with very high speed. Now the destination machine may not be capable of receiving the data at the same speed, and that's why the data link layer should make sure that the receiver is not swamped by, that is not overburdened by the high speed data from the sender. So the data link layer should also control the sender machine so that it only sends the data, or even though the sender machine sends the data at higher speed, the receiver is not burdened with that much of data. That's why the flow control is required. It does not allow the sender machine to send the data which cannot be tackled by, which cannot be managed by the receiver machine. This is what is called as the flow control. It controls the flow of data, in short. Now, very important point is, what are design issues? While the designers thought of that data link layer, what different functionality was designed for the data link layer? Now, if you see once again the position of data link layer, it is situated in between network layer and physical layer. Now we know the duty of physical layer. that rather transfers actual raw bits of information, that takes it from the data link layer and hands it to the destination machine's data link layer once again. So physical layer will accept the frames from data link layer, and actual bits in the frames will be transferred over the physical channel, and at the end this physical layer process will hand over those bits to the data link layer and at the destination machine. So here the functions of data link layer become providing a well-defined service interface to the network layer. As you already see, it has to provide services to the network layer, which is on top of it. We already seen that it has to deal with the transmission errors, error control. And the third function is the flow control, wherein the slow receivers are not swamped by fast senders. Data link layer will control the senders so that they do not send data at a higher rate than what the receivers can receive. Now, for this, data link layer takes the packets from physical layer and encapsulates them into frames. Sorry, that's a typo. Actually, on the source machine, the data link layer takes the packets from the network layer, as we have just seen previously. So the packets will be received from the network layer, and now these packets are converted into frames. So that is what is called as encapsulation of the packets into frame. We'll see actually how it is done. So this is a packet which is received from the network layer in the sending machine, and this is the data link layer. This is the network layer. So each frame that is so computed or so generated will be having a frame header. This one is the frame header. So let me show you. This is the header. This is the actual payload, and this is the trailer. Now, basically the part above this line is the network layer, and below the line is the data link layer. So network layer transfers that packet to the data link layer. Now that packet, based on the size of the packet, will be converted into one or more frames. So this whole thing is a frame, which basically consists of one header, actual the part which was sent by the network layer, which is called as the payload field of the frame, which is nothing but the packet here, and ultimately it will also be having some additional information which is called as trailer. Now, what is frame header? This is a field for holding the packet and a frame trailer. So header and trailer will be having additional information which pertain to the payload field. So we'll see in detail in the framing techniques what actual information these part, that the header and trailer will contain. So this is the frame management which is done by the data link layer. Now at the sending machine, the packet will be converted in this particular way into a frame. Now that frame will be sent to the destination machine with the help of the physical layer. At the destination machine, the physical layer will transfer the bits to the destination machine's data link layer, which will assemble those into frames. Ultimately, logically, the data link layer at the sending machine assumes that, it thinks that whatever frame I am sending will be received to the data link layer and to the destination machine. Now here the destination machine's data link layer, so here there is the actual network. We can think of this is subnet, which is the part here. Now this is the data link layer on the sending machines, and this is the data link layer on the destination machine. We are now thinking of this in this diagram, and this is the subnet in between. There may be different routers. Okay, so this is the data link layer of the destination machine, which will basically take out only the payload part of the frame received. It will truncate out the header part and the trailer part, and only the payload part will be given to the network layer. Once again, this is the above part is network layer, the below part is data link layer, and still below at the downward direction there will be physical layer. So this payload part will be given to the network machine, that is what is called as the packet at the destination. So this is the overall functionality of the data link layer, and this is the actual intricacies, I mean the details of how framing is done. Now the data link layer's main service is data transfer from the source machine's network layer to the network layer on the destination machines, as we have just seen in the previous diagram. So for this, there is a process in the network layer of the source machine that hands some bits to the data link layer for transmission. Now these bits will actually be transferred in the form of packets, as we have seen previously. Now this DLL transmits the bits to the destination machine, so they can be handed over to the network layer there. So this is the actual and virtual communication. So this is host A and host 1 and host 2. So we'll see what is the virtual data path and which is the actual data path. That will rather make it the communication concept very clear to you once again. That may be sometimes a repetition, but that is very essential now. So 1, 2 and 3, these are the indices of the layers: physical layer, data link layer, and the network layer. So this is the sending machine once again. So network layer will give the packet to the data link layer, and data link layer will simply send that to the destination machine's data link layer. So the sender machine's data link layer thinks that it appears to the sender's data link layer that the frame is directly sent to the receiver's data link layer. When I say DLL, that does not mean dynamic link library. That means the data link layer. That's the short for data link layer. Okay, so this is the virtual path. Why it is called as virtual? Because that is not the actual path. Now what is the actual path? The network layer sends the packet to the data link layer. Data link layer assembles those packets into frames by attaching headers and trailers that we already seen, and all the bits which are into trailers, headers, payload and trailer, that means the whole frame, will be then given to actually physical layer. And the physical layer, using the actual communication medium, that may be sometimes wired medium or sometimes a wireless medium, will transfer those bits towards the destination machine. Now when they are received at the physical layer at the host 2, those will be then given to the data link layer at the destination machine. The data link layer will make frames out of it, and the payload part of that particular frame will be given to the network layer at the destination machine as the sent packet. So actually data link layer at the sending machine thinks that it is communicating directly with the data link layer at the destination machine, which is not the case, and that's why it is shown to be a dotted path, which is the virtual path, whereas the actual path is through the physical layer and the physical medium towards the destination machine. Now we'll see a very important part, which is called as the different types of services which are offered by the data link layer. So the first is unacknowledged connectionless service. The second is acknowledged connectionless service, and third is acknowledged connection oriented service. So the service can be either connectionless or connection oriented, or the second category is it can be acknowledged or unacknowledged. We'll see in detail with respect to each individual service. So the first is unacknowledged connectionless service. So it has basically three words: unacknowledged, connectionless, and service. It's a service which is unacknowledged. It consists of having the source machine send independent frames to the destination machine without having the destination machine acknowledge them. So there are no acknowledgement for the individual frames which are sent by the sender to the destination machine. For example, that may be the scenario in Ethernet or VoIP communication, voice over IP. So where all the communication channel were basically operating in real time. So the time is more important than the quality of transmission. That's why these acknowledgements etc. are not that important. Acknowledgement add to the reliability, whether the frame sent is received or not, but that is not sometimes important than having the frames sent in real time. So this is what is called as unacknowledged connectionless. There is no connection established, individual frames are transferred, that's why connectionless it is called as. And as there are no acknowledgement sent by the receiver to the sender back, that's why it is called as unacknowledged.